Hey, it's Steve. Real quick before we begin, the single biggest thing I've learned about succeeding as an ADHD entrepreneur is that everything boils down to mastering your weeks. So if ADHD is making business harder than it needs to be, I've got something that can help. Grab my free weekly ADHD dashboard. It's a free, simple, but powerful tool to help you stay focused, organized, and in control of your week. The link is in the description below. Hi there, Steve August here with another episode of ADHD Entrepreneur Accelerator. And this is another solo episode where I am going to explore a phenomenon that I have had a lot of experience with. In fact, I'm currently going through it right now. And I think it might be just helpful to lay it out and create some sense of landscape for this particular ADHD entrepreneurial thing that happens. And what is the difference between build mode and sell mode? And this is very present for me right now because I am deep in build mode with relaunching the next version of the experience for the ADHD Entrepreneur Accelerator Program, or AEX as we call it. And it's work I really love. It's going to be amazing. There's all these cool experiences. It's going to be gamified. It's just a whole thing. I don't think there's anything quite like it in the space. But the thing that's happening is I'm so deep in the creation and the building part of it and thinking about each part of the experience that I'm having a challenge in terms of like showing up and doing my usual LinkedIn posting, my email posting, even coming up with this podcast episode sometimes feels a little challenging because my brain is all in on the building and figuring out the intricacies there. And I tend to go into a little bit of cave mode. And I've seen this happen with other ADHD entrepreneurs as well. And I wanted to offer a few thoughts about how to navigate this because it can be challenging because in business, it's really generally you always want to be selling, always want to be marketing in some way. And so it's challenging if you go dark for too long and then the muscles are kind of like you have to get back into the groove and all that. And it's really easy for especially the more introverted ADHD brains to go into a little bit of like into their cave and just create and just be happy in their cave. And we need to be able to create a little bit of both all times. So a few thoughts that I want to share. First of all, ADHD brains are really good at all or nothing thinking. We think, okay, it's either all this or all that. And that gets us into hyperfocus sometimes, but also it creates challenges for basically doing multiple things at once, right? And in business, we have to do multiple things at once. So I think about when I get into this all or nothing thinking, it's first I challenge it. I use one of my really brain conversations and say, okay, is what we're thinking really true or all or nothing thinking? Because often when we hold it up to the light, it isn't as black and white as we think. So like for me, I am thinking, I haven't really sent emails or I haven't been consistent on LinkedIn. So I'm really not doing anything. But the reality is I have help with this podcast. I have a service that helps me do this, and they post on LinkedIn and on TikTok and on YouTube. We do an episode a week and they're posting. So it's not like I've totally gone dark to the world. It's just that me, doing a full-on LinkedIn newsletter and doing it as consistently has dropped a bit as I'm, using a lot of brain power on figuring out all these experiences and mechanics of this new community experience. So one thing is just to step back and realize, okay, it's probably not all or nothing. You're probably still doing some things. And the next thing is like, I always think about a good, better, best kind of mentality because ADHD brains tend to go always to like, this is how it should be. It's the best way we could do it. That's how it should be. Anything less than that, again, all or nothing thinking means, hey, we're letting everybody down. We're letting ourselves down. And the reality is there is a good, better, best. Like good is like you got something out there. And better is like you did it as, I did it as well, twice a week or 3 times a week. And best is like, yeah, I did it 3 times a week and it was all really amazing stuff. But the reality is good is like I got it out there or, I did some being present or being out in the world as well as while I'm doing this deep dive. And often it's a kind of a pendulum, right? Is like, I'm going to get to this point where it's ready. We're going to launch this thing on May 4th. I'm going to be telling the world about it and I'm going to be spending, every month going forward, really shouting about what's this amazing experience that is coming for this ADHD Entrepreneur Accelerator. So there is sometimes where we do can give ourselves permission to say, hey, we're going to be in a little bit of a cave. We're really going to, deep dive into this thing, as long as we're clear that we're going to come out and it's not like an open-ended. I have a date of May 4th. That's when, people are going to get invited in, and then we're going to be shouting about it, and people will be encouraged in all kinds of ways to check it out. One of the things that I wanted to sort of convey in this short episode was our brain is going to play tricks on us in terms of shaping, how we're perceiving what we're doing, right? And if we're, our brain will be like, hey, you haven't done anything here to sell, and you're all in here in your cave. It's not necessarily true. So it's just giving ourselves permission to question those narratives, to get out and do the minimum, right? Do good versus better at best, because anything that's put out there is by default good, right? If it's out there, it's good. If it's done and sent, it's good. We can always do it better, and we can always get it to the next level, but actually putting it out there for people to react to is, like I'm doing with this episode, is the key. So final thought here is, if you're in this mode of like huddled in and in your cave and creating, that's great, but give yourself a time frame for when you're going to come out, and give yourself a minimum for what you'll do to talk to customers or to market yourself if this is, a challenge for you. And that could be just, I'm going to post one thing on social media for the week. I'm going to reach out to 1 or 2 people or 3 people, or however many people you want to say for the week, and do a certain amount of reach outs, and give yourself time frame. Because if it's open-ended, we'll probably push it off as long as we can. And that is the episode for this week. And it is, one that is very present for me because I'm going through it right now. And it's, it's always a work in progress with an ADHD brain. And so I am actually walking the walk by putting this podcast episode out there, and while I'm also in the deep creative mode. So I hope that's of help. I think sometimes just acknowledging that our brains do get into that cave mentality, and that we can work through it. That was just a really helpful piece of awareness, rather than just kind of beating myself up over it. Just being able to say, okay, this is how my brain's working. Here's how we're gonna work this stretch, and give ourselves a little bit of grace, and keep putting stuff out there. All right, that's it for this episode of ADHD Entrepreneur Accelerator. If this was valuable to you, would appreciate you giving it a 5-star rating, or whatever star you want to give it on your podcast platform of choice, sharing it with a friend, or if you're on the YouTube, give it a like and a subscribe. And there'll be more coming soon. And we'll talk to you real soon. That's it for this episode. See you soon.